Here's something most women never want to admit out loud. They have spent weeks, sometimes months, analyzing a guy's texts, reading into his body language, asking their friends, "Do you think he likes me?" And the whole time, deep down, they already knew the answer. They just didn't want to believe it. And that's the thing nobody talks about. When a man is truly, genuinely interested in you, not just attracted to you, not just entertained by you, but actually interested, you don't have to guess. You don't have to decode anything. The signs are there. They're clear. They're consistent. The problem is we've been so conditioned to accept confusion as normal that when something real shows up, it almost feels too simple to trust. So today we're going to break that down because there are 3 specific things a truly interested man will do, not sometimes, not when it's convenient, consistently. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. Before we get into today's video, if this kind of content speaks to you, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button, share this with a friend who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Love Psychology Secrets so you never miss a video, okay? Now let's get into it. Here's the thing people get wrong about this. Most dating advice out there tells women to look for feelings, look for butterflies, look for chemistry, look for sparks. And I understand why. Those things feel amazing. But here's the problem. Feelings are the most unreliable indicator of where things are actually going. I want you to think about this for a second. A man can feel genuine attraction for you and still not be ready to invest. He can enjoy your company, love your energy, even feel something real, and still not show up the way you need him to. Because love, and I want you to hold on to this distinction, love is an emotion. A relationship is a decision. And what you're trying to figure out isn't whether he feels something, you're trying to figure out whether he's choosing you. That changes everything, right? Because now you're not looking for warmth. You're not looking for charm. You're not looking for compliments or late night you up texts. You're looking for deliberate, consistent, intentional behavior. And that is something completely different. Here's what I see happen all the time. A woman is dating a guy. He's sweet. He's attentive. He says all the right things. And then 3 months in, nothing has progressed. No deeper conversations, no clarity, no move toward anything real. And she's sitting there wondering, what did I do wrong? Nothing. She didn't do anything wrong. The issue is she was reading emotion when she should have been reading action. So today, 3 things, not feelings, not words, things he will actually do if he is truly interested in you. All right, let's start with the first one. And this one is probably the most obvious, but it's also the most misunderstood. So stay with me. A man who is truly interested in you will make time for you. Not find time, not squeeze you in, make time. Now I know what you're thinking, but he's really busy. He works long hours. He's got a lot going on. And listen, I hear you. People are busy. That's real. But I want you to think about something. When a man wants to close a business deal, he doesn't say he's too busy to follow up. When he wants to catch a game with his friends, he rearranges his Saturday. When he's excited about something, genuinely excited, he makes it happen. Period. Busy is not the issue. Priority is the issue. Here's a simple way to think about it. Imagine you work in sales. You've got a lead, a potential client. Now, this client isn't warm. They're not even that interested. They're kind of just browsing. You don't move heaven and earth to get that meeting scheduled. You send a follow-up email, and if they don't respond, you move on. But now imagine a client who is genuinely interested, who has the budget, who wants what you're selling. You clear your afternoon. You reschedule other calls. You show up early because the value is there and you know it. Men are the same way. I'm telling you, when a man sees real value in a woman, when he is genuinely excited about her, the time materializes. It's not magic, it's priority. Now, here's where it gets interesting. There's a difference between a man who's available and a man who makes himself available. Available men are passive. They show up when it's easy. They see you when it fits perfectly into their schedule with zero inconvenience. But a man who is truly interested, he moves things around. He plans ahead. He says, I want to see you Thursday. Does that work? Not, yeah, let me know if you're free sometime. Not, hit me up when you're in the area. He initiates a specific plan. I was talking to someone recently, a woman in her early 30s, smart, successful, genuinely warm, and she was telling me about a guy she'd been seeing for about 2 months. She said, I don't know, we have fun when we're together, but I always feel like I'm fitting into his life, like I'm a sidebar. And that right there, that's the word, sidebar. If you feel like a sidebar in a man's life, you are not his priority. And if you are not his priority, I promise you, it has nothing to do with how worthy you are. It has everything to do with his level of interest. Because here's the truth, and this might sting a little. A man who is truly interested does not let weeks go by without seeing you. He does not give you 5 days of silence and then text, hey, been busy. He does not keep your relationship in a permanent state of we'll see. He moves consistently. Now, I want to give you the other side of this because I think it's important. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes, men do go through genuinely demanding seasons. A launch at work, a family situation, something real. And in those moments, a man who cares will still communicate. He'll say, this week is crazy, but I'm not going anywhere. He won't just disappear and resurface with, sorry, been swamped. Because here's what that silence communicates, whether he means it to or not. It says, you're not worth the 2 minutes it takes to send a real message. So what should you actually look for? Look for effort even when it's inconvenient. That's the tell. Look for whether he reaches out on a hard week, not just an easy one. Look for whether he mentions you in his future plans, even casual ones. There's this restaurant I want to take you to. I think you'd love this movie. Let's go when it drops. Small statements like that, they matter more than most women realize because they signal that in his mind, you exist in his future. You're not just a present tense distraction. You're someone he's building toward. And let me give you a practical mindset shift here, okay? Stop measuring interest by how often he texts. Start measuring it by how often he shows up. Texts are easy. Anyone can text. Showing up physically, emotionally, consistently, that costs something. And the things people choose to pay the cost for, that's what they actually value. Here's one more layer to this. Pay attention to what he sacrifices for your time together. Not in a dramatic way. I'm not talking about grand gestures. I mean small, real things. Does he stay a little later even though he has work early? Does he drive to your side of town instead of always making it convenient for himself? Does he turn down other plans to see you? Those small sacrifices, that's the data. That's where a man shows you what you mean to him without saying a single word. All right, so to summarize this first point, a truly interested man makes time, initiates plans, communicates during his busy seasons, and includes you in his thinking about the near future. If all you're getting is warmth with no structure, attention with no intention, that's not interest. That's entertainment. And you deserve more than that. Okay, moving to the second thing. And this one is subtle, but once you understand it, it becomes one of the most powerful signals you'll ever pick up on. A man who is truly interested in you pays attention, specifically, and he remembers. Now listen, I know that sounds basic. Of course, someone who likes you pays attention, but I'm not talking about the surface level stuff. I'm not talking about noticing you got a haircut. I'm talking about a different kind of attention, the kind where a man actually stores information about you, where he builds a mental picture of who you are, what matters to you, what makes you tick, and then he acts on that information later. Let me paint you a picture. Early on in dating, you're having a conversation, casual, easy, and you mention, almost in passing, that you've been stressed about something at work, or that you've always wanted to try this one type of food, or that you have a really important presentation coming up on Friday. Nothing major. You said it once. And then 2 days later, he texts you, "How did Friday go?" Or he shows up with the food you mentioned wanting to try. Or the next time you're together, he remembers the work situation and asks how it turned out. That right there is a man paying real attention. And here's why this matters, not just emotionally, but psychologically. When a man is truly interested in a woman, his brain naturally catalogs her. He's not trying to memorize you, he's just genuinely curious about you. And curiosity produces memory. Think about it like this. Can you remember the details of a movie you found boring? Probably not. But a movie you were obsessed with, you remember the quotes, the scenes, the little details. Because interest drives retention. When a man only remembers the big things, your name, your job, your general vibe, that's surface level engagement. That's the equivalent of skimming the book jacket. But when he remembers the specific things, the thing you said 3 weeks ago that mattered to you, the name of your best friend, the story you told about your mom, he's been reading the whole book. He's invested in knowing you. I was talking to someone recently, a guy actually, and he told me something really honest. He said, when I'm genuinely into someone, I catch myself thinking about things she said when she's not even there. Like I'll be at the gym and remember something she mentioned and it just sticks. That's what real interest looks like from the inside. It's not a performance, it's organic. He's thinking about you when there's nothing to gain from it. No audience, no reward, just because you've gotten into his head in a real way. Now let me challenge a common belief here, because this is important. A lot of women have been told, maybe even convinced themselves, that men just aren't detail-oriented, that men don't remember things, that it's just how they're wired. And I want to push back on that, all right? Because I've seen men remember every stat from a football game 7 years ago. I've seen them recall the exact specs of a car they drove once. I've seen them remember the plot details of every season of a show they love. Men remember what they care about, full stop. So if a man consistently forgets the things you've shared with him, the things that matter to you, that's not a memory issue. That's an interest issue. Here's the nuance though, because I promised you balance. Some men, especially early in dating, are nervous. They're in their heads. They might genuinely miss details, not because they don't care, but because anxiety makes them a bad listener in the moment. So don't write someone off after one conversation. What you're looking for is a pattern over time. Does he get better at knowing you as weeks go by? Does he ask follow-up questions? Does he seem genuinely curious to understand more? That's what you're watching for. And here's where the attention piece connects to something deeper. When a man pays real attention to you, he starts adjusting his behavior based on what he learns. He notices you don't love crowded places, so he starts suggesting different kinds of dates. He notices you light up when you talk about a certain topic, so he brings it up again. He notices what makes you laugh, what makes you go quiet, what makes your eyes change, and he responds to those things. That's not manipulation, that's attunement. And attunement is one of the most underrated qualities in a partner. Think about it from a fitness angle. A great personal trainer doesn't give every client the exact same program. They observe, they adjust, they customize based on the individual. And over time, their client gets better results because the approach is tailored. A man who is truly interested in you does the same thing. He's not running the same play he runs with everyone. He's learning your specific code and responding to it. That's care in action. So the practical takeaway here is this. Pay less attention to how much he talks and more attention to how well he listens. Does he ask follow-up questions or just respond to the surface of what you said? Does he connect today's conversation to something you shared weeks ago? Does he know what matters to you? Not because you've told him 10 times, but because he genuinely retained it. That's your signal. Attention over time, reflected in memory and action. That's a man who's not just enjoying you, he's investing in understanding you. And that distinction, that is everything. Okay, here's the third one. And this might be the most important of all, because this is where most women get stuck in what I call the endless almost. Relationships that feel real, that feel close, but somehow never actually move anywhere. A man who is truly interested in you moves the relationship forward. Not perfectly, not on a fixed timeline, but consistently, deliberately in a direction. He doesn't let things stay vague forever. He doesn't keep things in a permanent state of we're hanging out. He doesn't leave you in limbo for 6 months wondering what you are to each other. He progresses, he deepens, he clarifies. Now, I know some of you are already bracing for the counter argument, but what about taking things slow? And yes, taking things slow is real and healthy and valid. I'm not saying a man needs to propose after 3 weeks. I'm not talking about speed. I'm talking about direction. Slow is fine. Stagnant is not. Here's a good analogy. Imagine you're on a road trip. You and the driver have agreed you're going to take it easy. Stop along the way, enjoy the journey. That's fine. That's great, actually. But every once in a while, you check in. Are we still headed toward the destination? Is the car moving? Are we making progress? The pace can be relaxed, but the direction should be clear. A truly interested man provides that clarity. Not necessarily in a formal, define the relationship conversation early on, but in the way things naturally evolve. Dates become more personal. Conversations go deeper. He introduces you to people in his life. He mentions plans that are weeks or months out. The relationship has a sense of momentum. Slow maybe, but real. Here's where I want to get specific, because vague advice helps nobody. What does moving forward actually look like in practice? It looks like him initiating a conversation about where things are going, even if it's casual. It looks like him integrating you, bit by bit, into his actual life, not just his schedule. It looks like the topics you discuss getting heavier, more personal, more real over time. It looks like him being transparent about himself in a way that creates actual intimacy, not just connection. Let me tell you something I've observed over and over. A man who is not truly interested will keep things at a certain altitude. He'll maintain a zone of warmth and closeness that feels like something, but never quite becomes something. He keeps it fun, keeps it light, keeps it surface, because going deeper requires vulnerability. And vulnerability requires real investment. And if the investment isn't there, the depth won't come. I had a woman tell me once, we've been seeing each other for 4 months, and I feel like I know him less now than I did in the first week. And what she was describing was exactly this: a man who had mastered the art of warmth without depth. He was charming, attentive in a surface way, fun to be around, but he had built a ceiling. And every time she tried to go deeper, he redirected, changed the subject, made a joke, kept it casual. That's not taking it slow. That's taking it nowhere. Now let me flip this and give you the honest male perspective, because I think it's important to understand what's actually happening internally. When a man is genuinely interested, when he sees real long-term potential in a woman, something shifts in him. He starts thinking about protecting the relationship. He starts thinking about what he needs to offer for this to work. He gets a little more thoughtful, a little more intentional. He stops treating the situation like a casual experience and starts treating it like something worth handling carefully. You can feel that shift. It shows up in how he talks, how he plans, how much he opens up. Contrast that with a man who's just enjoying the ride. He stays comfortable. He doesn't stretch himself emotionally. He doesn't bring anything new to the table because there's no internal motivation to deepen things. And again, this isn't about him being a bad person. It's just about his level of genuine interest. Here's another angle on this. Think about how people behave when they find a great apartment. When you're just casually browsing real estate, no urgency, no real intention to move, you look, you appreciate, you move on. But when you find the place, you call back. You schedule a second viewing. You start mentally placing your furniture. You ask about the lease terms. You feel urgency you didn't feel before because now something real is at stake. A man who is truly interested starts acting like a man with something to protect. He becomes a little more intentional, a little more careful. And that care, that deliberateness, is what moving forward looks like from the inside. So what should you watch for specifically? Watch for whether conversations about the future happen naturally. Watch for whether he's introducing levels of transparency, sharing things about his past, his goals, his fears, not all at once, but gradually. Watch for whether he's integrating you into his actual world, not just his nights out, but his real life. And most importantly, watch for whether over time things feel like they're becoming something, or whether they've been parked in the same place for months. If it's been parked, that's your answer, and it's not your fault. It just means his level of interest doesn't match what you're looking for. And knowing that sooner rather than later, that's a gift, not a loss. The practical mindset shift here is this. Stop asking yourself, does he like me? Start asking yourself, is this going somewhere? Because those are very different questions. A man can like you genuinely and still not be invested enough to build anything. What you deserve is both. Someone who likes you and who is actively, consistently moving towards you. Okay, I want to pause here and give you something that ties all three of these points together, because there's a pattern I see women fall into that makes all of this harder to recognize. I call it the low investment trap. And it's sneaky because it doesn't feel like low investment in the moment. It actually feels really good. Here's how it works. You're seeing someone. Early on, there's excitement. He's texting, he's flirty, he's present. But over time, you start to notice he's not really growing in his investment. He's consistent, but he's consistently the same. The warmth is there, but the depth isn't increasing. The time is there, but it's on his terms. The attention is there, but it's broad, not specific. And instead of this triggering a concern, it actually creates a craving. Because here's what most people don't realize. Sporadic or incomplete attention is more addictive than consistent, full attention. Psychologically, when rewards are unpredictable or partial, we chase them harder. It's the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. You don't get the win every time, but you get it just enough to keep going. So what happens? You find yourself working harder, trying to be more interesting, more available, more understanding, giving him the benefit of the doubt again and again. Because subconsciously, you believe if you just do a little more, he'll finally give you what you're looking for. And the whole time, his investment hasn't moved. Only yours has. That's the trap. And here's the brutal truth about it. Low investment men are often charming and likable. They're not monsters. They're not always players. Sometimes they're genuinely good people who just aren't at the level of interest or readiness required for what you want. And that's okay. Not everyone is right for you. But the longer you stay in the low investment trap, the more you start to believe the problem is you when it has nothing to do with you at all. So how do you break out of it? You go back to these three things. Is he making real, inconvenient time for you? Is he paying specific, growing attention to who you actually are? Is he moving things, slowly is fine, in a clear direction? If the answer to those three questions is consistently yes, you're in good hands. If the answer is consistently no, or inconsistent at best, you have your answer. And the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to trust it. Because here's the thing about truly interested men. They make it relatively simple. They're not perfect, no one is. They'll have off days, busy seasons, their own emotional walls to work through. But underneath all of that, the direction is clear. The interest is visible. You don't have to decode anything. Confusion, in most cases, is not a mystery to solve. It's information. And it's telling you something you probably already know. All right, let's bring this home. We talked about three things today. Not feelings, not words, actions. Things a truly interested man will do consistently over time. He makes real time for you, not just when it's convenient, but deliberately, even when it costs him something. He pays specific, growing attention to who you are, not just your surface, but your details, your patterns, your world. And he moves the relationship forward, not necessarily fast, but in a clear and steady direction. Here's the core message I want you to walk away with. Interest is not a feeling someone has for you in a single moment. Interest is a pattern of choices made over time. And you are fully capable of reading that pattern if you give yourself permission to trust what you actually see, not just what you hope is there. I want to say something directly to you, okay? A lot of women have been conditioned to tolerate ambiguity in relationships because somewhere along the line, they were told that needing clarity is needy. that wanting consistency is too intense, that asking for forward movement is pushing. That is not true. Those things are not high standards. They are the bare minimum of what genuine interest looks like. And you should never apologize for recognizing the difference between what you're actually getting and what you deserve. Love, real love, is not a state of constant confusion. A relationship, a real one, is not built on hope and interpretation. It's built on consistent, mutual, intentional investment. And when someone is truly interested in you, that investment shows up without you having to negotiate for it. So here's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, right now. Think about the person you're thinking about, because I know someone came to mind during this video. Run them through these 3 things. Not harshly, not looking for reasons to walk away, just honestly. Is he making real time? Is he paying real attention? Is this moving somewhere real? If yes, that's worth something. Nurture it. Show up fully. Let it develop. If no, give yourself the grace to see it clearly. You don't have to blow anything up tonight, but you do have to stop pretending the confusion is normal. It's not. And you deserve better than a permanent state of, I think he likes me, but I'm not sure. You deserve to be chosen, clearly, consistently, without question. That's what truly interested looks like. And now you know exactly what to watch for. If this video helped you see something more clearly, I'd love to know. Drop a comment below. Tell me which of the 3 resonated most with you. Was it the time piece, the attention piece, or the forward movement piece? I read these and your response actually shapes what I cover next. And if you know someone, a friend, a sister, anyone who is in the middle of that confusion right now, share this with them. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone you love is give them language for something they already feel but haven't been able to name. Like the video if it gave you something real today. Subscribe to Love Psychology Secrets if you're not already. We talk about this stuff honestly without sugarcoating it every single week. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself and remember, clarity is not too much to ask for, ever.